Hi, all. Look, Gerald's the magician.
Yeesh.
uh, well, this is Sarah. I know
Hello,
we're all
hello.
so excited to see her. There you are. Poor Gerald, stuck out in the cold. I know, it's all good. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. But welcome, everyone. Yeah, so glad to be here.
Yeah, likewise. Glad to be here. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so this is my hero, Sara M. Lyons.
I
I've
feel
been
so honored. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and keep talking, I guess, until Gerald figures it out. But
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sure
I
he'll
was
be
telling
back
you before
soon.
we got on, you like kind of changed my life.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's it's wild to hear, honestly. It's like I was saying before we got on, this is such a personal project for me. So the idea that anyone in the world is using it is still so stunning and amazing and humbling, you know.
Oh, well, that's just lovely. I can only imagine because really, I mean, having something personal out there that people are finding joy in is isn't that the key, right? Is to
Yeah, it's wonderful. It feels amazing.
yeah. Well, thank you for that. It was a real gift to me for
Oh
sure.
my gosh, it's my honor. It's my pleasure. I feel honored and, like I said, humbled.
Thanks, hon. Hey, are you
Am I
back?
back?
There you
There
Can
he
you
is.
hear
are.
me? Okay.
Yes.
It's yeah, okay, I just have to say when that happens, it's usually because of big energy. So there you go. So and
Well, I wouldn't doubt it.
yeah, and I imagine that Lisa, you were being very cordial, so thank you. And everybody in chat. So thanks everybody for joining us because today I have Sara M. Lyons and Lisa from Zina's Place Intuitive Card Readings for the Cute Little Lenormand deck casual. Whoops, there we go. Deck casual. So, and
Huzzah!
Sara is the creator because look, people, right there. There's her, oh, here, tiny hand alert. There she is.
There she be.
There she
Yay.
is. So,
Coach loves
and
tiny hands.
my notice just popped, so this is a good thing. So,
All right, great.
I am going to welcome both of you. Where are you? Where are you in the United States? You don't have to. I don't need your address or anything like that. I'm just curious because I'm in the Eastern time zone. So,
I'm in the Southern California high desert, right by Joshua Tree National Park.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And you, Lisa, where are you?
Me. I'm in Southern California as well. Carlsbad, soon to be Fallbrook, California, I hope.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And just so that everybody knows, links are down below for you to be able to find Sara on Instagram and follow Lisa on YouTube. So please do so. Links to where you can access this book and other delightful things that Sara does are linked below. And you know the limits, know your limits, purchase responsibly. So you're all adults. So, all right, let's see. I see so many people, and chat has jumped. So, Jane, Jamie, and Beth Aspasia Rising is here, and we have a lot of people who most everybody in the chat right now are moderators for me, Sara. So
Cool.
they will, if any trolls decide to come up, they will trounce on them and make them go away. Gina M is here. Hello. Deanne, Blue Crescent Tarot, and Corrine Blinter. Hello. Just catching up, just catching up. I love this. So many people, chat jumped. Pamela is here. Been waiting for so long for this discussion. I love this little deck very much, thanks to Lisa. It opened
Thank
a
you.
lot of the all of the Lenormand doors for me.
See?
So
Thank you.
I just
And
feel like a candle, right? You know, like that whole thing about light somebody else's can, you know, and I was so glad to light everybody's candle about your you know, what I don't want to
Yeah.
call it a product, your beauty, your just, I don't know, just, yeah.
Thank
Sorry,
you
you know
so
me, I'm
much.
gushing.
yeah.
Thank you.
And fair warning, everybody who is watching and watching the playback, thank you for, you know, the like and subscribing and the thumbs up. But I did warn Sara that we will be spending all of this time heaping praise in her general direction. So, you know, she has been warned. So,
I hope I'm
Debbie
not
Aquarius
tongue-tied the
out.
entire time. Sorry,
Yeah,
Aquarius.
yeah. So, so I'd like to I'm going to hear from I'm going to speak first and then Lisa, and then I want to hear from Sara about how this deck came into our lives. And this deck came into my life because of Lisa on because I saw her on Jane the Secret Tarot using it, and I am a unapologetic tarot collector, card collector, and I had not seen it, and I wanted to do this deck casual with Lisa and you. So I bought the deck, and I am very, very happy that I have.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I love that Debbie has said, your deck is right next to me. The book is amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So Lisa, how'd you come across this deck?
Okay, so it kind of had to do with Jane the Secret Tarot as well, because she's my sister-in-law or ex-sister-in-law, right? And she got a Kipper deck for Christmas. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. I've never seen anything like that before. Very, you know, much simpler than tarot. And so I went diving on Amazon, you know how you do. And bam, you must be Amazon, right? Because you're on Amazon, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there you were. And I was just drawn right in. I'm like, Cute Little Lenormand. I'll take one of those. I'm kind of like you, Gerald. I don't know how responsibly I purchased it. I purchased
Well, but
I'm
we're
glad
adults, so yeah.
Yes. So I was really glad I purchased that day, though, because basically for me, as most of us who know me know that's Zina all of a sudden just whoosh, came right through, and it became really, really easy to communicate with my mom, who passed in 2009. So it's been quite amazing. And your deck just, I don't know, just opened this whole wide world for me. After she passed, I had a hard time getting back to tarot. And so it was a slow road. And I think even though that had been the agreement that we were going to communicate, your cards made it so easy. I don't know what to say. I think that's what it is. It's just so easy for spirit to come through. And then it turns out now, you know, sweetie, not only just her, it helps me really come through with a lot of others as well. And I just think you've created something quite amazing here. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like that, like I said, that means so much to me. It's so awesome to hear. I feel I was immediately drawn to this form of cartomancy when I first saw it because of its simplicity and its just clarity. And I wanted to really share that with people through my own vision. So it always feels great when I feel like I made that connection.
Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I mean, just
my true pleasure.
yeah. Because yeah, and breathe, Lisa. It's
I know.
I mean,
it was a huge stepping stone for me.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I know there are a lot of people, if everybody in chat who has this Cute Little Lenormand, you know, give some thumbs up so we can let Sara know how many of us have it. And Tangi is here, Roman Biscotti. And it looks like Chris Elemental Cartomancy is here. Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining. And it just started, and you know, I froze for a while because of such excitement and all that stuff. So Jamie, of course, has it, and Jamie is the one who is like going cute little Lenormand. Debbie, Karen,
Kareen,
Kareen, Jane the Secret Tarot. So Lots of people have it. And so Sarah, you were referencing that you're drawn to Lenormand as your form of cartomancy. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I actually I am like you both also a compulsive card collector. I think I maybe in the fuller screen, but I have many of my cards right here to my right. And if I see something, I just grab it. And I've been reading tarot since I was I was given a deck as a gift for my 13th birthday. I'm 37 now. So that's when I started dabbling in cartomancy, I guess you would say. And I had spent most of my life looking at tarot and using it in my personal practice. I'm an artist and an illustrator primarily. So it's not something that I do like professionally or anything, but I just always had been, you know, I'm so drawn to a visual form of divination, I guess. So I'd always been using tarot, and I was also always looking for other oracle decks. And anytime I would go to a bookstore or anything, I would always look and see if there were any decks that I didn't have or anything I was not familiar with. So that's actually how I came to Lenormand. And I always say I haven't been into it for that long, but now that I'm like, it's been 7 years, so that's a decent amount of time. But to me, I still feel like a novice. I don't feel like, even though I wrote a book on it, as I say, even in the book, I wrote a book. I didn't write the book on it. And I feel like there's so much still that I need to learn. And I don't consider myself to be an expert by any stretch of the imagination, just a huge enthusiast. But to return to my my point, I found a Tally Goodwin and Marcus Capps just a reproduction deck, and it's called Easy Lenormand or 123 Lenormand at Barnes and Noble in Palm Springs in 2015. And I thought, I have never heard of this before, and I'm kind of a researcher, so I was so surprised that there was a form, not only just an oracle deck I hadn't heard of, but something that was old, you know what I mean? Something that had history. And I was like, how had I not heard of this? And also so beyond just the excitement of finding something that I hadn't seen before and how easy it immediately seemed. Also, as I said, I'm an artist and an illustrator, and a huge amount of my work is based around having a visual language of symbols. A lot of what I do is about creating, I have my own collection, I guess you'd call it what I call magical symbols, that each thing that I draw and I insert into so much of my work, they have hidden meanings or they have symbolic meanings. And so when I saw the Lenormand, I was like, this is my work, but like from 200 years ago. This is a simple collection of magical symbols that are immediately recognizable. You know, again, to quote Capps and Goodwin, a snake is a snake, a sun is a sun, a heart is a heart. I always tell people, you could have never looked at any divination card in your life before, and you would be able to understand this. And that appeals to me so much, because as much as I love tarot, and like I said, I have been working with it since I was 13, I still have to consult the book. You know, I don't know it instinctively. And I feel with this form, you just know it instinctively. And I have heard from so many people as I've introduced it to people that it felt instinctive. So I found the deck, I fell in love with it. I learned it fundamentals relatively quickly. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm making this. I have to make my own. Because when I started researching it, I didn't find, as you can see, if you could see behind me, I like cute things. I really like.
No, really?
I always say I'm in a constant pursuit of cute. So if something comes in a cute form, I want that. So cute tarot cards have always been, you know, you know, not necessarily the first aesthetic that you're finding in the magical sphere is not always like cute, bright, colorful, straightforward, whimsical. Often you're finding things that are a little more bohemian or you know, a mystical feeling. And I love that too. But my style is the style that you see in the book. It's straightforward, it's simple, it's colorful, it's bright, it makes you smile. And so immediately when I saw these cards, I thought I could draw these symbols and I could have my own version of this, and I could hopefully help to introduce it to other people who, like me, didn't even know about this amazing form of reading. So I started out as a self-published. I funded and self-published my own deck, and it's a little bit different than the one that you can now buy. So originally it was just a deck. I had it, it was self-funded. Like I said, I had it produced, and I had 100 packs, and there was just a little white booklet that was tucked into the deck that just had the meanings of the cards, and that was it. and it went really well on my own website. And so I started writing a longer book. And again, I just started researching. And I also had found there's not that many really comprehensive books. I think the Cats and Goodwin is probably the most comprehensive one you could buy like in a physical store. And a lot of the other ones that I've really come to love are difficult to find. You have to read an ebook, or you have to order it from like an independent publisher that it might take a long time to come. So I wanted to compile all that information I had learned into my own book. So I did that. I self-published the book. It continued to go well. And I was lucky enough that some people that I knew who had connected with my self-published deck connected me with a big publisher and an agent. And I was able to, go through St. Martin's Essentials with some really amazing editors and really amazing people, really amazing graphic designers that helped. And I completely... I redrew the deck. I rewrote the book. I expanded the book by tons of pages, and it's been about 2 years now, almost. It'll be 2 years in October since it was published, and it is a little slow, steady little churner. It's not setting anyone's world on fire, but it's setting the people who find its world on fire.
Yes, I am so glad you were going to clarify that, because I was going to be all over it, Sarah. I mean, like,
it's not a bestseller. It hasn't been a juggernaut, but it's meaningful to the people who found it, and that is what I wanted from it. So
yet.
Right.
I got a yet. I'm sorry, it's a yet for me.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the story.
I love
and
that.
Again, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm a chatter. So if I'm talking too much, you just tell me to dial back.
Well, I can actually mute you on StreamYard. So if I need
I wish
to
my husband wishes he could do that. I'm sure.
I'll do it if I need to. Oh, you need to make a Cute Little Lenormand fan.
That'd be so good.
I'd sell it.
Oh my gosh, I'd buy it. I'd use it. So.
I love that.
Yeah, Corrine said I'm learning at, and it's been a great for her. Debbie said,
I'm so
you
glad
had
you put
me
that
at
up.
pink.
Yeah.
That's my person.
So, and Deanne said, I love that Lenormand feels like little codes to me. A web, a map, just love.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about it.
Yes.
And what's interesting? Sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
I was just saying, hi, Kathy. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, no. So for me, Gerald, during that little, the introduction about how you showed the back of it, and there's the fox. And this is one thing I really like about the deck, Sarah, is that for me, obviously the fox means what the fox means, but then it also means, I don't know, somehow it became the spirit guide of my deck. It's kind of weird. It really did. And then today, when I was getting ready for the chat, I thought to myself, well, I should look it up and see what other people say it means. And according to the Celtic religious belief, the fox is an animal that serves as a spirit guide and can assist you to find your way through the afterlife. I thought I was gonna plutz. Because
that's
really,
so cool.
I don't know. So I can't wait to go through. And Gerald had said, well, you got to pick your favorite cards and whatever. And I'm like, that's going to be a task, but I don't know. I think I came up with a few. I love it. I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So Jane the Seeker wants a Cute Little Lenormand fan. So it does
talk to my publishers.
Yeah, really.
There you go. So it comes with a book that is let me get the how many pages is it's like 200 pages.
That's a lot.
The cards come into the back, so it is a very self-contained. So cute little deck. It is. Oh, hi, Natalie. It is set up to where on the inside cover, you get a quick and easy reference to each of those. And then I love how you share what you know about Lenormand without actually, you never say you're the expert. You say, here's what I know.
Yeah, I'm
here's
not
what
the
I know.
Yeah.
And so the book is set up to where it gives general understanding, and then you go in and you have sister card, positive combinations and negative combinations, and then questions for the bouquet.
Yes.
So it's set up beautifully like that. And here is a traditional RWS. So Oh, here's there it is. Oh, it's better this way.
So they really
it
are
is,
cute and little.
They're little, yeah.
they
And
are
actually,
cute. Yes.
they're
love
even
it.
a little bit bigger than my original self-published cards, which I have actually behind me. I can
I'd
you
love
could
to
it's
see
very,
that.
very
Yeah.
negligible, but my original deck, I'm trying to find my camera
Yeah,
here.
it's
Oh,
weird.
Just a little bit smaller. And I
Oh,
really
okay.
wanted them to be that tiny size because they're so pocket sized. And this was just the smallest that we could get them from the publisher's printer. So
Yeah.
I worked really hard to get them little. And some people, I think, prefer them to be bigger, but I think they're easy to handle. They're easy to shuffle. I like that they're small, and I wanted them to be portable. I want people to, I want them to be used and carried around and, handled.
And that's so important because by the way, here's the backs. So how cute and adorable is that?
Mm-hmm.
And they, for those of us who understand about Lenormand and we want to do a grand tableau, you can't have big cards unless you have a really big table or a floor.
Right.
So,
right.
And Jane the Seeker said, I just did a 3-month grand tableau for myself. So good. And Corrine said, I am able to shuffle them because they are small.
Yeah,
So,
that's my thing too. I'm not good at shuffling.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and Jamie and I, Jamie is my friend, Wandering Mountain Barty Path. We want them on linen because, because we love a linen cardstock. So, yeah, they're good. Yeah, the mini. So we have the mass produced. We both, Lisa and I got it from the Zon of Amma.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and that is where I recommend. I know that there are hosts of problems with that, but I do recommend if you don't have a local bookstore that you can order from, get it on Amazon. They usually have it on sale, and it helps me because that looks good for my publisher.
Good. It's a terrific introduction to Lenormand for absolute beginners like me. I heart mine.
Thank you. I'm so happy to say that people tell me that all the time, that the book is really a good resource, and that's really meaningful to me because I really worked hard to get as much information as I could in here. Sometimes maybe too much. So.
Yes. So how about I will Beth said on sale now on Amazon, FYI.
Yeah, it's been on sale for a while.
If
so
one of my mods wants to link that, please do so. So how about let's start with the cards and go through them. And Jamie said, I wanted this deck because, well, pink and, well, cute AF.
That's what I like. That's my
and with that,
always. Those are my people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'm looking forward to, hosting the unveiling of the Cute Little Lenormand fans.
I'm telling you, I knew it. I could
know. So, all right. So, okay. So for those of you who do not know Lenormand, it is a 36 card deck, and it was based upon a game. The name Lenormand is incorrectly associated with it with whatever Miss Lenormand.
Yeah, Marianne Lenormand.
Yeah. She didn't do this, but somebody, she's famous. Let's just hijack it and make it, all that stuff. So,
yeah.
And so, and there are, I want to talk a little bit about, so it is a bordered deck. And up in the corner, here, let me use my tiny hands. Up in the corner, we have the playing card association to this, because if you want to do the playing card association, you can. And hashtag, this is Gerald talking. I like a Lenormand that is clear. I do not need to see the writer in front of a garden holding a letter with the moon behind them. Well, what is it? It's like, which one? So,
clear.
Okay, so yeah, I want it to be clear. These are adorably clear. So
thank you. Yes, my work often predicates on simplicity. So this was a no-brainer for me to just have them be against a solid background and let the symbols speak for themselves as much as they could.
Yes. Yes. And I love the colors. So the first card is the rider. Does anybody have wonderful things to say about the rider other than this is one of my favorite cards because it's a unicorn?
Yeah, it is.
I couldn't resist.
Love it. Well, you know, surprising message. So something coming in on a unicorn is quite surprising, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it kicks off. I think it's a good kicker off both to the deck in general, no matter what style of deck you prefer, and specifically to my deck because it lets you know what you're getting into.
And also you're surprising again. The pink hair is surprising a bit, right? You know, it's very, it's not something you would expect.
Yep.
So it makes it so easy to know, right? I mean,
it does. It really does. And thank you, Jamie. And there's the link. And Beth said, my understanding is that Marie-Anne Lenormand read Lenormand, but the system was created by Swiss man on wood carvings. Wouldn't surprise me. You know.
The system was created by a Swiss man. It was used by, I believe his name was J.R. Hecht, if I have that correct. And she did read with cards. It was a different form of card reading as far as I have been able to discern. I believe it was developed by Atelier, who was kind of the big guy about, you know, you probably know that he was the big tarot man around the same time, and he was her mentor. And so she was reading with playing cards, but I think it's not known exactly which method she used, but I believe that the cards that we use now, the 36, the Petit Jeu, that would be using the symbols from the game that was developed by Hecht.
Yes. So here's card 2, the Clover. And you both, if you want to share any stories about it, let me know, because I'm just going to be flipping through these.
Yeah,
the ship.
I will talk a little bit about some of the illustrations. Some of them obviously are really straightforward. A clover is a clover is a clover. But I did want to imbue some of my own personal history and my personal, loves and connections into the cards. And so I lived in Long Beach for 10 years. And really, it was a really big part of my 20s, and it was really important to me. So when I drew the ship, I wanted it to be reminiscent of the Queen Mary, which is docked in Long Beach. So that is why it is a steam liner and not necessarily the traditional like trade ship with the big sails that you see in an earlier deck.
You know, that's so funny because whenever I look at it, I think cruises, right? I do. I always think, are you going on a nice vacation? Whereas that's not something I necessarily get from other. Yeah, I love it. And that the journey.
Oh no, go ahead.
Just that the journey can be pleasurable. Don't forget how pleasurable the journey is, even if it takes a while. Kick back and relax the ship.
I love it. The ship is one of my favorite cards, definitely, because of all of its meanings. I love to travel. I love vacation. I'm a Taurus moon, so I love a hotel. But also I love the sense of an emotional journey or a spiritual journey, getting just from point A to point B on a personal plane. And a symbol that I often relate to the ship when I'm unrelated to this deck, for example, I crafted just my own kind of scrapbook deck, which I do talk about in the book, out of a deck of playing cards. And another symbol that I really like to associate with the ship is a UFO, because it gives you that sense of the exploration of the unknown. So I also like to think of it as a starship, or a ship that is taking you to the astral level.
Nice.
I love that. So, and then we have the house.
Yeah, and my inspiration for this is like a Barbie dream house. I looked at a lot of pictures of kids' toys. I was born in '85, so that that particular late '80s, early '90s era of kids' pink toys was very formative for me aesthetically, obviously. And so I wanted to create a sense of fun with the house and make it feel nostalgic and something that feels homey, but also has a sense of fun to it.
You were born the year I graduated from high school. Thank you for making me feel old.
Great year.
I appreciate that. It's a good year and good music, by the way.
Yes.
So then we have the tree.
I love that one. This is one of my favorites, I will say. I think because your card has the little fruit and that tree is so well established. So you're not only well established, but you're just producing beautiful things that people are going to really enjoy, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting. I'm looking at my first version of the deck to see if I can find, because like I said, I did redraw all the art for the cards, and so they're pretty much the same, but I just wanted to refine it a little bit because the original art was 5 years old, and so my tree from the first deck didn't have fruit on it. And that's one of the biggest
Oh,
changes that I made, because when I was redrawing it, I was like, why wouldn't it be bearing? That's the whole point of the card, is about nourishment and growth,
exactly.
So,
I love it.
so I added the fruit, and then you can't really tell. You can tell more in this one because it's in black, but on the trunk, and it's in the new deck as well, but it's not rendered in black, so it's hard to see. But there's a heart, and the heart has me and my husband's initials in it.
Really? On the tree?
Yeah, it's really hard to see in the deck that you guys are working with today because it's a tone on tone, so it didn't really come through in the detail, but it is there. So that's one of the little personal touches that I like to that I'll mention as we come
that.
On the tree itself.
Yeah,
on the trunk. I can see it. I can see it. Oh,
That is adorable.
Thank you for saying that. That makes it even more special.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And then we have the clouds.
Classic. I love this card, actually. I find this to be a lot of the cards that I think read as negative, I really like, because I don't think that there is a negative card in this deck. I think that they all are just taking you to the next stage, and I find that the clouds really, to me, that just means clouds clear, so this will pass. This too shall pass. So I like that. I like that card, and I think it's simple and it's straightforward. I liken it always to when you shake the magic 8-ball and it says like results unclear, try again. It's like, it's not a bad thing. You just have to pull over and wait it out.
Yeah.
Gerald, one moment, please, of adulation. Oh my gosh. That is just for me. I'm just like, oh, think about it. I'm like Miss Pollyanna, and to hear you say that is just like, how many times have I said there are no negative cards? It's just the way you look at them.
It's the way you look at it. Yes, that's wonderful. I love that. And Debbie said, I've been doing a lot of health reading this summer. Readings this summer. I've spent a lot of time with the tree.
Yes, so, that was me last year.
So, yeah, I love that. And it's the way we choose to look at things. So I think that's delightful. So, and then we have the snake.
Well, okay. So your deck makes it easy to say, shedding your skin, feeling constricted, a little possibly poisonous, but I don't know. It's always like a possibly poisonous, where every other deck you find, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not interested in that, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And
the snake it's such a tricky card too, because a lot of the more traditional readings on it, I find to be really sexist. I think I write about that a little bit in the book, that traditionally it's considered to be like, oh, this is like the other woman. She's a mistress. She's a temptress. And I think, first of all, that's so gendered and weird, and I reject it. But also just, I guess I'm an optimist in that I don't think that most people in their day-to-day have other people or other entities that are actively out to get them. And that's how people want to read the snake as like, oh, that's like your enemy or someone that's coming for you. And that can be what it is. But I think the snake is powerful because I think, and I use I use a lot of symbolism in my own work. And I actually use the snake as a really positive and hopeful sign in my own work. But I think in the context of the deck, I often look at it as like your own, like your negative feelings within yourself, your self-doubt, like the things that are creeping up on you that you need to grapple with. So it can be, like you said, it can be about shedding that and renewing. So I think it's, again, not necessarily bad, just being aware of.
Yeah. Pamela said, I was thinking Lisa is Ms. Sunshine and Rainbows, which always feels good. And this
Can I say something about that? That's so funny. When I worked at McDonald's, was my first job, and guess what my nickname was?
Oh no,
Sunshine.
Miss Sunshine.
Everybody called me Sunshine.
There you go. And this just in, Beth has ordered the deck responsibly, so I hope it will work well for you.
Yes, me too.
So we have the snake, and then we have the coffin.
Yeah, and again, it's another card like we were just saying, to touch also on, I often say with the coffin when it comes up for people, because much like pulling death, in tarot, people, especially if they're not super familiar with the way the cards work, it's scary. And beyond just the idea that everything is contextual and everything is what you make of it. I also always say with cards like the Coffin, and I write about this in the book as well, particularly with Lenormand, if you're pulling a small little vignette with 3 cards, that doesn't mean the other cards don't exist in your reading. They're just not present in that moment. But if you look at everything that you're pulling as your grand tableau, the Coffin always has to be somewhere. There has to be somewhere for all the scary cards to go.
That's
and
a
that's
good
just
point.
like life. You can't go through life just always having hearts and flowers. There are scary and sad moments. And that's the same with this deck. You can't ignore the Coffin or say, I don't want that one in my readings, because it has to be somewhere. And they have them, and so you just have to accept it and find the good parts of it, which in this case, it actually is a really hopeful card, because it's all about one door closing and another one opening.
Yes. And you can't separate all feelings. If you try to block some feelings, you block all feelings. So if you block sadness, then you're blocking happiness as well. So and then we have the bouquet.
Yeah. And that's very similar to my wedding bouquet. Again, as a little
very nice.
Little little personal tip.
Yes.
Love it.
The side.
I like the bouquet comes right in the middle of this cluster of kind of like cards, and then you have the bouquet right in the middle to be like, it's cool, like calm down, it's all right. And then you get back into like sort of intense feeling cards.
Yeah.
I often think it's to remind us that these intense feeling cards are actually gifts as well. And that if we kind of embrace that kind of helps too. I think the Scythe is one of my very favorite cards these days.
Yeah, definitely.
Why is that, Lisa?
Well, you got to clear the things that no longer serve you. And well, it's harvest season too, isn't it? So reap what you sow. And that this card, unlike the Coffin's a real final ending that, move on, it's over. This is more like move on, but you're taking crap with you when you go, right? You got all, whatever it was you harvested, you get to walk off with that, right?
And
start anew.
So potently symbolic. You're separating the wheat from the chaff. You're clearing out the rot to make room for the good stuff to grow.
Yes. And then we have the whip, which is card 11.
Yeah, sexy.
It can be, yes.
Funny, that's where you go. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I think I like to, and I write about this in the book too, for those in the chat who have not read the book yet, that there are the sexual allegories with the cards, and that each card historically does relate to a body part, which I don't touch on too much in the book. But traditionally, historically, if we're going back to the early days in the gender binary and everything, that the whip did represent the penis. So it's interesting because you have all these, it talks about aggression and being under fire and having kind of tension and everything, but you can also read it as like a very, a card about aggression from a passionate context. And then the lily is its sister card, as I like to call it, and that it is is traditionally represented as the vulva, and it's about the softer side of things. So the whip, if you are looking for, and I do struggle with, saying it's a masculine card because I don't want to assign gender. I really work hard not to do that in this deck. But at the same time, it has a hard, I guess, or more aggressive energy. And so I do find sometimes if you're reading, especially if you're reading romantic readings or you're reading personal readings, it can resonate sometimes with people from that aspect.
Of course.
Not really for me normally, but I think it's interesting.
That it can, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the birds.
Oh, little cuties.
Now, for me, I know that they traditionally. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, are you sure? I didn't want to cut you off. Okay, well, so just that for me, your deck specifically means lovebirds to me, even though I know it's a card of communication and chit chat and gossip, but I don't know. Every time I get this in a love reading, I'm always like, oh yeah, well that's a confirmation that's the lovebirds because they just look so cute.
Yeah. Thanks. And that's part of the beauty of this form, is that you can really ascribe whatever meaning is working in the context of your other cards. And the symbolism too. I mean, a lot of that, the way that you say, oh, just the way that the imagery resonates with me, not necessarily the same way that it's traditionally translated. Something I didn't really touch on in the book, but that I thought was interesting in my research, was the way that early decks were illustrated. Sometimes that was taken into account. For example, the way that the writer was facing. when you laid it down made a difference in your readings, or when you were working with the gendered cards where they were facing. So I think that's something that's interesting as well.
Yeah. Lisa, I completely understand what you mean. So with that, I mean, you know, one of the bird's eyes are closed, one bird's eyes are open. So
I want that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, girl, we can talk about manifesting that, you know. And then we have the child, which do kids still jump rope these days?
They do.
I mean,
who knows? Not me.
So,
No, I know. I do know. I know.
Yeah,
oh,
okay,
I mean,
okay.
maybe not. Okay, I know pre-COVID. I would hope that post-COVID they'd still be jumping rope, though.
Yep. And I like how she has a Band-Aid on her knee. I think that's an important aspect of it too.
Yeah, you're adventuring, you're taking risks. It's a bit of a fool if you want to do a tarot comparison where you don't necessarily, you're not looking before you leap necessarily in this, that's the energy this has. So it's risk taking from like a sense of fun.
Yes. And then we have the fox. Yay. Do you have anything to say about this card, Lisa?
I love this. I don't know. It just sort of became our, if you feel like this is our spirit guide here, please chat, tell them the chat. It's amazing to me. I don't know why. And it was before I read anything about it. It just all of a sudden, even though I know it's, business and, cunning and other things, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. For me, most times when it comes through, it's always about spirit guide. The spirit guide is here. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
I think for me, my biggest, energy that resonates the most with me from the fox is the sense of ambition. And I think that can apply to so many different parts of your life. And I think that can resonate from a spiritual sense. And I also think that it's when I'm pulling a grand tableau for myself, it's always one of the first cards I look for. I'm self-employed for almost 10 years and I'm a sole business owner. So ambition and everything is important to me, but I do think that it has a resonance beyond just like you said, business and career and getting forward in life. I think foxes are clever and they are doing what they can to keep going. And I think that is relatable on like a very, very core level for most humans. So.
Yeah, I mean, because let's face it, when you're dealing with business, you have to be cunning and you have to be understanding. It doesn't mean maliciousness, but you have to be aware of this. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think too, ambition, it gets people act like it's a dirty word, but I think ambition can be beautiful and it can be totally amazing. And it doesn't have to be like this negative thing. And I think that when I look at the fox, I'm like, yes, ambitious, like keep going. You've got this.
Yep.
What's also interesting that I don't know if I'm just recognizing it, but so it's really a 5 numerology wise, right? And it's sort of the card of self-employment is what I'm kind of hearing you say. Really,
yes, definitely,
it really is, right? And if
the indie DIY.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the 5 of Pentacles is that self-employment card, that one where they're standing outside the church or whatever. But so I think that's just sort of interesting that that's the same frequency, if you might want to say.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And then we move to the bear.
Oh, right.
That's
which
is Fox Senior.
Right. I was just going to say, so more like authority, more like somebody of authority who works for somebody else. Right? Like more like a policeman or an authority.
Yeah. The bear is one of those cards that I find it to be a little bit tricky because it can be, when I think of the bear, I think of the fox, big, like, the bear is big business. You're in the penthouse, you got the limo, you've got all the money, you are making the calls, and maybe the fox is being, still carrying out the calls, and you grow into the bear, I guess. So I look at the bear in that way, that it is a big business, it's success, it's control, but it also has a not necessarily domineering, but like a parental quality. It's a mentor.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I think of it as the obvious allegory is it's a mama bear.
That always comes through like that.
Someone that you look to who could offer you guidance and protect you, but also is fierce and is can be intimidating, you know what I mean?
And
I think it's Kat
overbearing.
and Goodwin that talk about also, exactly, overbearing, literally. I think it's Kat and Goodwin too who talk about the sense of the bear from near or far, like from far away, it's just beautiful and it's inspiring and it's incredible. But the closer you get to it, the more intimidating and scary it becomes. But as you grow to understand it, the less scary it is. So I think it's interesting because, like you said, it can also, I think some people do like to ascribe it to figures of authority, government, police, and I think that could especially come up when you're having it come up near the tower. In this deck. So, but again, it's all, and I say this, I think if I had a dime for every time I use the word context in the book, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's all about
context.
Yeah.
It really is. And then we have, following the bear, we have the star.
One of my favorites.
So yeah, this is, should I sing? I don't know. So this is the song that always makes me sing. There are a couple in here.
Yeah,
the song that comes up for me is a dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep. I don't know why for this one. In dreams you will lose your heartaches. Whatever you wish for you keep. Have faith in your dreams and someday your rainbow will come smiling through. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. So yeah, it's hard for me not to sing that every time.
Yeah, totally.
Perfect.
I think I even opened the page for the star with the when you wish upon a star, you know, that's what it's all about. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. It's it's a wish fulfillment. It's aspiration.
I love
absolutely.
That.
And you know, Jamie's like, brava, brava. So there you go.
Maybe we'll get some more songs.
And then we have the stork.
Love the stork.
I like this card. This is symbolism that can be so, it can feel so pointed. But I don't, you know, because of the traditional association of the stork as being like the mythology, you know, carrying a baby and bringing you that. But I love that it represents bringing you something new, but you're able to plan for it. It's a big transition card, and I have actually I've had a lot of my readers who are trans have told me that this card has been meaningful for them as they have gone through gender affirming surgeries or gone through other, you know, really important phases in their lives. And I think that's really cool. So I think that I like that it's similar to some other cards in that it is representative of change, but I really like that it is different than the other cards that are about change because it's change that you're planning for. And in that way, I do say it can be likened to a pregnancy because you know something is coming, but you have a little bit of a while to get ready.
Yes.
And so I really like that about it. And I also like that it does have, and I write about this in the book if you don't have it. Sorry to keep saying that. But a lot of the cards do have associations traditionally with different like lengths of time or amounts of time. I talk about using the cards as a calendar. And I like that the stork traditionally is representative of a phase of about 9 months because that's a traditional pregnancy, but also 9 months is sometimes how long it takes to get, you know, an idea from conception to completion. And so when that card comes up, you can think about what am I cooking? You know what I mean? Like what is in the oven right now and what can I do to get it out as delicious as possible?
Exactly. And then we go to the dog, card 18.
Yeah.
What'd you say? What'd you call this?
He's my little buddy.
Your little buddy.
Just your buddy, your little BFF. Yeah, your little bestie.
Yes. And I love how we see the wagging tail. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's a good friend.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that card. So I just real quick, that is really one of my favorites because honestly, because of this card lately, I've been thinking, you know, live life like a dog. You know, I mean, really joyful when people come home. You're so excited to see them, you know, just grateful for everything, right?
That's
loyal to a fault.
Sense of community, like you know, having that sense of connection, all about, you know, the best friends' hearts that click together is that what I see that as a lot, you know.
Absolutely. And then we have the Tower, which is
one of my favorites.
I like this card, and the Tower means something different than it does in the tarot. So I like to say that. So and this is another one similar to the bear that has a lot of kind of different
different interpretations of where you're coming from. I
Mhm.
find this is actually, even though it's not like the tarot, the tower and tarot, I feel like it is one that has for me anyway, a pretty good one-to-one association. I really liken it to the hermit, because to me, the tower is what resonates most, and what I think of when I get the tower is all about a sense of boundaries and isolation, giving yourself kind of alone time, and giving yourself recharging time, and giving yourself
Sure.
time to connect with yourself. And it can be lonely, but you're not alone. And I, interestingly, my book came out during the heat of COVID. And so at the time, when it was first published, I was doing lots of readings for people, which I don't normally read for others. I typically read for myself. But it was amazing in the thick of COVID to see how frequently the tower was coming up. It was coming up for
Oh,
everybody.
yeah.
It was coming up
Mhm.
so much because everyone was struggling with these feelings of isolation. And
Sure.
and so I think it can almost like kind of be triggering now when you pull it up, because for me, because it reminds me so much of like 2020. But also I
Mhm.
think I'm a Virgo sun, which is the hermit card, and I struggle with whether I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert, but I definitely am someone that, like, I like to be social, but I need that recharging time.
Of
And
course.
I
Yes.
also need that as an artist in order to, wet my creative whistle, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so
Mhm.
the tower is really important to me. And I think the tower is a really, really important card for all artists. It's really important for activists, because you need recharging time. So
Yes.
again, it was coming up so much in 2020, both from a sense of isolation and also a sense of like activism and needing, self-care.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, because seriously, for me too, tower all the time. And just to move on to the next card, it would come
Mm-hmm.
up, it would
They
come
came
up
up together
all the
so much
time.
during
And to
COVID,
me,
because
what
Yeah.
that
people
meant
were
was like,
desperate for community.
well, that, and that we were online, that like there was
Mm-hmm.
garden
Oh,
parties.
interesting.
We were by
Yeah.
ourselves. We were totally solitary in our own little castles. For me, it's
Mm-hmm.
really crazy because I actually do sit up. I have an apartment that sits up above, and I have this
Mhm.
Yeah.
balcony, and it really did feel like I was in a castle during that
Yeah.
time. And then that when you would go online,
Mm-hmm.
that was the
You'd
party.
find it.
So it was
Yeah.
like this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
also the garden, yeah, it was coming up also because it has not only the sense of community, but also it's a public card. It's about being in a group. It's about being in a
Yes.
crowd, being out and about, seeing and being seen. So people were craving that. And I
Yeah.
love this card, the garden, since we're getting to it. These are some, we're in a chain of like my favorite cards in a row right now are coming. And I think the fountain, it's really popular imagery for the garden in the cards. And you'll see also, this is one of the only cards that really has a background to it. Not that it's much of one, but it does have a horizon line. Because I wanted to
Mhm.
show that you are in a place. You're in a plaza, you're in a garden.
Yes.
And the fountain is a very common symbol of, nourishment and regenerativeness that you
Mhm.
get from,
Yes.
being in community. And the alternate name that I like to use for the garden is the party. So I
Yeah,
think
I
Oh,
love
that's
that.
what
yeah.
I like to think of it as.
I say the garden party.
Yeah, that's
The
exactly what I
garden
was saying.
Yeah.
party. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy said the tower always confuses my tarot brain, and
Yeah.
I think she said I like a good way to think about it. And Kiba Lyons is here. Hello, Kiba.
Yay,
Same
another
last
lion.
name.
The
Yes.
best.
And Beth said I pulled the tower about my high school reunion, and I got COVID there. So,
Yeah, it's that COVID. It's
so,
got that COVID attachment now.
It
so,
does.
and then we have the mountain.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. Like I said, we're in my
Okay.
string of favorite cards. 2021 and 22 are my three favorites. I love them.
Hmm.
And this
It's
is one of my favorite pieces of art, not necessarily because it has any personal connection, but it just looks
it's
good to me. It
pretty.
looks like jello and it's pretty, and I think it looks yummy. And I like the mountain because it is similar to the clouds. I find it to be encouraging because you're on your way there.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's one of my
And
favorite cards too.
yeah, and I also like how when you look at the mountain, we have the nice coloration, and there it's posted. The mountain. There's my card, Jamie.
Yeah,
Wandering
I
Mountain
love this
Bardic
card.
Path. There you go. So, and then
Love
we
it.
have the
Yes,
ways.
I love this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, visually, I guess it's interesting. Actually, these are the three cards that all have a horizon line, and they are also three of my favorite cards.
Love that.
I grew up in northern Arizona, Flagstaff, Arizona, and we spent a lot of time in Sedona. And that is what this card is inspired by, the red rocks in Sedona, which, as you may know, is there's a lot of energetic vortexes there, and it's a very magical place. And so that is where the artwork is inspired by. But it was difficult to decide what artwork. A lot of the artwork for the waves, as you may know, it also has other alternate titles. It sometimes is called the Crossroads. And so sometimes the artwork features an actual crossroads, which is really symbolically probably the most appropriate. But I like this card because it's about choices. And I do write in the book, I quote the road less traveled, you know, the Robert Louis Stevenson, two roads converge in a wood. And I think that that's all about taking the path that makes the most sense for you, and being confident about it, and not having to, you know, look back.
Sarah, that mountain card would make a beautiful necklace and fun.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been considering I should do some more product that sort of is developed around the cards. I've got some ideas in the mind, so that's a good one.
Well, now you have another one.
Yeah,
and
I know,
in addition to the fan.
Right.
You know, so Jamie said I spent a ton of time in Flag. I went to college in Tempe, so
I love this card. Yeah, I love this card because it doesn't, you have no idea where you're going, and you just have to trust it. And there might be clouds there when you get there, but there might not be. And I don't know. It's just, I love it. It is such a, I just love it.
There could be a garden behind the mountain. There's so much possibility.
Just gotta trust it.
And it is, to return to the poem that I use, because it is so apt for this card. In the poem, he says, knowing as way finds its way to way, or something along those lines. I don't know it verbatim, but you know, you pick a path and you don't know if you're going to go back and get a chance to see that other path. So like you said, you just have to commit and be confident and be ready for it, you know, and as he says in the poem, and that shall make all the difference, the path that you choose to take. So
Jamie says, I hear the song Baker Street when I see this card.
Winding my way down Baker Street. How funny. I wonder what the rest of the words of that one are. Something about light in your head and light on your feet, or something, and dancing. I don't know. But yeah, that's a nice song to put to that one.
Yeah. And then we have the mice.
Yeah.
So
little anxiety card.
Except they're so happy.
Yeah, they're cuties. That's the thing. Sometimes I can't help it. They got to be cute. You know what I mean? But that is also the mice. It's, you sometimes could let something go because it seems non-threatening. You know what I mean? Little mice, they're so cute. But they're chewing on your wires and getting in your cereal, and your house is gonna, you know, your power's gonna go out, and because they're so cute that you didn't think that they were gonna cause you a problem, and then all of a sudden it was bigger than you could handle. So they're actually really very symbolic visually.
Yes.
Love it.
And then we have the heart.
Very obvious.
Yep.
Great.
And then we have the ring.
Yeah, and that is my engagement ring.
Is it?
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I drew
so
this
cute.
when I bought the deck, as I mentioned at the beginning of the chat, I found it at a bookstore in Palm Springs, and I actually found it I found it about 2 days before I got engaged. I got engaged on the trip at which I found this book. So I was developing my own deck while I was planning my wedding.
How cute.
So it felt like an obvious choice to do my own ring.
Yes.
I love it.
Jamie says, I associate music with everything.
Yeah.
So, then we have the book.
Yeah.
Love me a book. You know.
Yeah. Diary, Bible.
And then the letter.
Guidebook. I like that too. Yeah. I love the way yours has a little heart on it, the little love letter. You know, you could take
a guidebook like for the Cute Little Lenormand, which comes with the book, which you can purchase responsibly on Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
Moderators.
Yeah. So and then we come into two of my favorite cards.
Yeah. Now we get a little bit out of pocket here.
I love this part. Style. Yeah, I love this part of the deck. And not only do I love it, my child loves it as well, right? Just to feel so represented. Everybody feels so represented by these cards.
So we have the querent and then the partner. And I have had jackets like both of those.
Yeah.
And so I just think one of the reasons I like it is because it's non-binary. It's a dang jacket. Put it on. If that's the one you've got, that's what you need. Yes. anyone can read it, and so I appreciate those.
Me too.
Right.
So.
And when I write about this in the book as well, when I created my self-published deck, I was using the gentleman and the lady, and I actually got them here on my I'm like, here's my lady, if I can find, and there's my gentleman, and that's me and my husband, But, and then when I first, and I always struggled with that right away, when I was making it, I was like, this isn't representing everybody, it's a struggle. But I felt that the cards were so set in stone that for some reason, I thought, I can't change that. Purists will be mad. Or I thought, these have been working for everybody for long enough. People will figure out how to work with it, and I had read a lot of discourse online about, I choose a different card, or I just pretend that this is that. And I thought, that's so odd. So when I made my second self-published deck, I was trying to rectify the situation. So my next move was that I created supplemental cards that came with the deck. So you could have two gentlemen, or you could have two ladies. And that was a little bit better, but it was still a binary, and it still didn't leave everybody feeling represented. And it also didn't allow for room for other types of relationships, and it didn't allow for, for example, I talk about if you're poly, or if you're open, or however your relationships are working, and however you and your loved ones are identifying, I wanted to be represented here. And it felt like the only way to do that was to remove gender entirely. And I felt so grateful that I hit on this. It took a while. I was like, to find the right imagery. For a while, I was working with swans, and I was working with all this different imagery to try and figure out how I wanted to replace that. And then I thought, the jackets, like you said, anyone can slip into it. It fits you well, whatever fits you best, and you could find yourself in the querent or in the partner, however you're reading. And then it also still creates a visual callback to the original cards for those people who had them. So, and also I was a punk. I like a leather jacket.
Well, yeah. And I have to say, and I have to say, because you're right. We can see ourselves as the querent. We can see ourselves as the partner, and it's flexible. And it also, it just represents people that are involved, not necessarily that I have a relationship with.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be your, your spouse, or your partner can mean so many things.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And Calla Lizzie said the jackets are a great idea. And this is, we have, speaking of Calla, we have the lily.
Yeah, fortuitous. Yeah, this is, I would say, the most complex card in the deck, in my opinion, as far as how to interpret. So it's a tricky one.
And you can, when you pick this book up, you'll be able to find that information out. So there you go. Boom.
I love that one too. It's one of my favorites. I always imagine little bees rubbing themselves all in it. So not only are you you're again like the tree. You're not only just a beautiful, mature, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But also you're just giving.
It's interesting. Symbolically, it has so much dichotomy, and it's so paradoxical because it has associations with both birth and death. It has associations with youth, and it has associations with innocence, but it also has associations with wisdom and old age. And completely separately, also, as I said earlier, it has the association with the vagina. If you want to read from the body, you know what I mean? In that sense of softness and sensuality. So it's really, it's really interesting. It's difficult to read when it comes up sometimes. And it's really, really comes down to how you want to interpret it. It's a tough one.
Exactly. And then let's shine some light on this. We have the sun.
Let the sun shine.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
And this is, I think, probably the only card that actually is a pretty close one-to-one with the tarot version, because they mean almost the same thing. It's celebration and having your time in the sun and that positivity and warmth and the reward. Yeah, it's interesting. Most of them are not a direct one-to-one. This one, I would say, is probably the only one I would say in the two decks.
I like the rays. I'm sorry again.
I was just going to say that. I like the subtlety of the rays.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
and
that your joy radiates out, and other people. Yes, I love it.
Yep. And then we have the moon.
Right. A little less of a one-to-one, I think. There's a little bit of similarity, but I find the moon one of my favorite cards. Another card that's really important for artists. Creates creativity, emotions, dreams, sensitivity, just like your inner self. It's a beautiful, still, Lovely card. Love the moon.
Exactly.
I think of it as closer to the magician. Do you agree?
Yeah,
Kind of?
that tracks.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Manifesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's also a timing card often. Do you
Oh,
find that as well?
Right. And
Well,
I
'cause like a
mentioned that in
lunar
the
cycle.
book too. If you are interested in moon magic or you work with the moon phases at all, that this card is especially potent. If you do that, if you work with the moon, this card comes up so much. It's like you said,
yes.
this deck just works with people's energy. So if the moon is really important to you, which my first word as a little kid was moon. So it's really important to me.
Mhm.
And and so it comes up a lot. And like I said, that's a card for creatives and emotional people and sensitive types, which is all of us, I think. Yes, the yes card, the key.
Love it.
Yes. What did you call this card?
It's the yes card.
The yes card. Okay,
card.
that's
Oh,
what
I
I
like
thought.
And
that.
that is that I believe is Alexander Musruck, I believe, and I don't even know, I'm afraid I may not be pronouncing his name correctly, but he, I believe, is the person that coined that term, because this is such an affirmative card. And if you ever have just a question, a yes or no question, if you're looking for a yes and that card comes up, that's your yes card. It's so affirmative.
I also,
Yes.
I tear back to numerology for a moment. It's a 6, which also in can mean victory or victory,
Mhm.
So,
interesting.
I
I don't know much about numerology, so that's really interesting.
Yeah. And come on, let's be practical. All of us probably have a key that is shaped like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at your keys, people. That's your assignment right after this. After you have, after you have known your limits and purchased responsibly, go look at your keys to see if it's there. So there.
Yeah. It's a skeleton key is beautiful, but this felt contextually modern, I guess.
Yeah.
And Beth asked a question. Sarah, what would the no card be? The mountain, maybe?
That's a good question. I guess I hadn't actually considered that. And I think that it would be contextual, but I think, like I said earlier, I don't see any of the cards in the deck as like a hard no, because they all are opening themselves up to so many different things. But the mountain could be not so much a no, but I would say the mountain or the clouds would be a proceed with caution, or to be thoughtful about it. And I think that depending on the question that you're asking, there could be other cards that could serve similarly. For example, the scythe might be a cut this off. You know what I mean?
Or the coffin. I keep hearing the coffin is coming up for me.
Over, but it really is contextual. I think it depends kind of more on what you're asking. But also, like I said,
question.
I would say there's more yeses than nos in the cards generally, or that's how I like to look at it. So look at it as a proceed with caution, not a no.
And Robin has been lurking and said mountain equals a delay.
Right.
So
a stumbling block, something to get past for sure.
And then we have the fish.
Yeah, I love this. This is probably, I know I've said a lot of these are some of my favorites, but the fish is probably my favorite card in the deck.
Why?
Say more about that.
Well, like I said, I'm a Taurus moon, so I like material things. And I also, in the tarot, I connect most with the Pentacles, and I love the 10 of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. And this card feels like those cards to me because it's about abundance, not just from wealth, from a physical standpoint, but also about the energetic sense of abundance. And also, it's not just about having, enjoying the fruits of your labor and feeling like your hard work paid off, but it's about having enough to go around and so you can share it with others. And it has that, I mentioned in the book, it has, for me, I like to liken it. There's a biblical allegory where you have the fishes and you could turn one fish into a meal for 100 people.
Exactly.
You also have the adage, when you teach someone to fish, they can feed themselves for a lifetime. So to me, it really is about not only having wealth and feeling comfortable and secure in your wealth, but then having enough that you could share openly. And I think that's so important. You know what I mean? To be able to spread it around. And I love the idea of that. And I know typically the symbolism that they use for the fish is like a fish on a plate, like a beautiful plate of fish. And that makes sense. But I just aesthetically, I connected more with just a beautiful betta fish. I used to have a betta.
Sure.
And so I know it doesn't have that same one-to-one symbolism that some of the other cards might, but it's to me, as long as you know what it means. And then I always say, if any of the people in the chat are a Real Housewives fan, I used to always call the fish the Lisa Vanderpump of the cards, because it's all about wealth and luxury, darling. So I like that. I like that when you get it coming up, you get it coming up after the fox, for example, or the mountain, and you're like, yes, like
Yeah.
everything I've been working for is going to pay off, and it's going to feel good, and I'm going to be feeling comfortable and safe, and I can care for
Beautiful.
myself and others.
And then we have the anchor.
Yeah. Speaking of feeling comfortable and safe.
Yes, yes. I like the anchor card, and so it's like, boom, there we go.
Yeah. And in the book, I mentioned in the game that in the original, the Game of Hope, that the cards were derived from, the anchor was the winning card. So that was the card you wanted to land on. So that is considered to be the winner of all of the cards if you're looking at it from a historical standpoint. I think the anchor is interesting because typically you do read it as it's a safety card, it's security, it's you've come to the logical conclusion and everything is feeling good. But it also can, you can, as I said before, context, but it can also, if it comes up at the beginning of a reading, I find it so interesting. And I just recently talked to a friend of mine. I had done a reading for her about 2 years ago, right before, like the summer before COVID. And the anchor had come up at the beginning. It was her first card in her 9-card tableau. And I said, usually this is, you know, your story's starting at the ending. You are settled and secure. And what I thought of when I got her card was, because it was followed by the ship. A ship is safe at harbor, but that's not what ships are for. Is that the quote? And I thought sometimes that's your end goal is the anchor, but sometimes you're tied down by it and you need to be free of it. And so I read this for her. And then, like I said, she just sent me, just actually like 3 days ago, she sent me a DM and she was like, I don't know if you remember, you probably don't remember this, but you did this reading for me. And she told me, and you said the anchor, and it meant that, you know, I was being held back by something and that I was tied to something that I needed to be free of and that I was about to go on an emotional journey. And she was like, and like 3 months after I had that reading, my husband that I'd been with for 20 years, we got divorced. And it was scary at the time, but it was the biggest, best change that she had in her life.
Right.
And she was like,
Wow.
he was that anchor, and he was the end of her story. And it was great for a long time. And then it served its purpose and it was time to break the chain and set free. And she got on the ship and she moved into a new stage of her life. And now she has a new partner. And she was just telling me, she was like, it resonated so much. And for the longest, she said, for a year, I thought, what does that mean? You know what I mean? The anchor, like, what am I needing to be free of? Because I'm so settled in my life. My life is done. You know what I mean? I've got my things. I got my happy ending, but that was just the beginning for her. So that can also be the anchor. Just like as someone, I see Aspasia, I hope I'm saying your name right, in the chat, could represent stagnation or non-movement. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Even though it is typically generally a happy ending, super positive, it's what you're looking for. If it could sometimes be, you know, the albatross around your neck, you know. So it really, again, it's all about context. But generally, I find it to be a good, positive safety card. Love the card.
And then card 36 is the cross.
Right.
And a 9,
this,
which is ending.
That might actually, to go back to the no card, I would say actually this might be the biggest no card in the deck. And I would say this is the card that is the most, more than the coffin. More than the coffin, more than anything else, this is the heavy card and the hardest card in the deck. And for me, it really represents, it's about trauma and it's about the things that you carry and your emotional weight. You know, I am not like a religious person, so I don't associate the cross with, you know, the you know, I know symbolically it's a big sense of hope and it's typically a really positive symbol, but in these cards it relates more to, if you do want to look at it through a religious standpoint, the weight that was being carried, not like the hope that it represents. So it is all about your burden and it is about your emotional baggage and it is about the things that you hold with you, you know what I mean? And so it's a difficult card, and it can, when it comes up, it can be like, oh, what do I need to face? What do I need to lighten? How do I make this burden easier to bear? So, but again, every card can be hopeful, but it is the card that is most like, what do you need to face up to? What are the things that are, you know, weighing you down or that maybe you need to face or that maybe you need to work through? It's very, very much to me represents, you know, the things that you carry. It can mean spirituality too. Yes. For me, I guess those things are really tied together. The weight that you carry in life and spirituality, I think, are tied together. But yeah, it is. I see in the chat, it's hard to get away from its symbolic meaning. And that is something I struggle with as a secular person, not, you know, working with these cards is, and with tarot too. I mean, lots of occult stuff has Christian imagery.
Of course.
Because it's so ingrained, especially as Western culture. And so it is hard to remove yourself from that. And so with that, I look at it kind of as the story that it tells, not so much the meaning of the story. And
Sure.
when you think of it as the weight, you know what I mean, and the burden and the things that you're carrying, and also what that means to other people, you know, how the weight and the burden that you're carrying affects others, or how it might help them, you know. So
and I would also say that I would flip that. A lot of things have pagan symbology with them.
Oh, definitely,
and
definitely.
vice versa. And Peter J. Watts has been listening in and working. So
Nice.
he's doing the work lurking. So
Can I say one small thing about the cross for me that might help?
Of course.
Not meaning make it a little more of a positive card. Lately, especially since I've had this, again, I just credit you with a lot of things that have been happening lately. They just help me see things in a different way. I feel like the cross is almost like a destiny card, so that, like, you know,
fate.
when you're up there and you're making your list of things you want to do here on earth before you arrive. I feel like this is like a checklist. Like, these are like, so when those real big burdens come along, just know that you signed on for them. Those are the things that you were willing to carry. Think about it. Because when Christ, and not to get religious or anything, but when Christ did come down, he came down agreeing to carry the cross. Right. So I kind of feel like whenever it comes up, I'm more of a okay, you know, I signed on for it. What is the lesson? And I feel like they're just like, whenever this card comes up, there's so many lessons to be learned. And that really, honestly, it's destiny. I feel like, so I don't know, that helps me a little bit.
Things that are fated to you that you cannot remove yourself from. Definitely. And I do in the artwork, and I see that Toadstool Tarot, I just saw it in the Enchanted Lenormand, which I'm not familiar with. It's a bridge across a chasm called The Crossing, and that's incredible. That's awesome. That's so potent. Like really cool.
And Beth really likes what you said, Lisa.
Oh, I'm glad.
That's
well,
so true. And in the spirit of that, what I did try to do with the artwork on that, because it is so hard to remove yourself from the religion, how do you depict a cross with it not being a cross? So I wanted it to feel like kind of the mid-century neon signs that would be outside of like a little, like, you know, shack church in the bad part of town. So it is also a beacon of hope a little bit, you know what I mean? And it does, as with every single card that could have negative connotations, it will have also, there's a light that comes through the cracks if you know where to look for it, always, you know. So that is, and as I said also with earlier on, every single card needs somewhere to go, and this, you know, burden is a part of living, and that is just your life. That's it's 1/36 of the things that you're dealing with at any given time.
I love that.
And Duncan says thank you, Lisa.
Of course.
So but oh my gosh, so we
got through all of them.
We got through all of them. Thank you everybody for watching, and again, purchase responsibly, know your limits. But what I can say is I enjoy the book. It is well written. It's clear. It also gives you an idea about the associations with it, and as its placement in the 36 cards, which is very helpful, because I know Beth talked about Aspasia Rising, was talking about how she wants to learn. I hope that this helps you. So
I really did. It's written for beginners. The book is meant to be as comprehensive as it could possibly be. I really tried to combine the information that I have gleaned from every book I've read and from every resource that I've used. And I also tried to include a lot of those resources. So there's a bibliography, so you can, but what I resonate most with when I'm reading cards is I like to have a prompt. I like to read with a purpose. I don't like to always go in blind. And so for each card, I do offer a series of questions that you could ask. So if you're stumped at any time when you pull up a reading, for example, you have the bouquet and you're like, I don't know what this means in the context of this reading, you can turn to that and can ask yourself those questions about that card, and it could help you shed some light on the situation. And there's also lots of, it's as much like a workbook as it can be without actually being a workbook. So I try to give as many examples as I can of different ways to interpret. And I really hope that is a good jumping off point for anyone who is just starting out. But I also think, as I said before, this is such an intuitive, natural form of reading because these symbols are so universal, that I think if I really, really, really suggest to anyone who is starting out when they buy the book and the deck to just try reading the deck first. Just try pulling the cards first before you even read the book, and see how you feel, and then see how right you are. Because I think I even write in the book, like, you will be surprised how good you are at this right away. It's really easy to learn.
Yeah.
And you know what else for me? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to the book now. Like, I read it when I first got, like, you know, I did what you said, though. I definitely did the cards first, and then read the book in its entirety, by the way, cover to cover. It's just so lovely. It really is just wonderful.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to go back to it now. So you say for beginners, but I think also there's going to be a wealth of information for me.
Oh, I agree
the second
with you.
time or third time through, whatever this will be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I hope so.
Yeah.
When you look at this is the introduction here. These are the cards, and this is information about how to use the cards, people. So, you know, you get some resources.
Go through everything from a 2-card combination to the grand tableau that uses all 36 cards. Walk you through an example of every type of reading that you want to do so that you could understand it. And I really recommend sitting with a reading for a long time. You know, you could have the same cards out for a week and you come back to them, and sometimes new things pop up that you didn't see at first. There's also, if you like astrology, if you like to work with planets, if you like to work with other forms of cartomancy, all of that is covered. I try to cover as much as I can. I try to get every single reference I could find. I love a cross reference. I love to be like, this means Virgo and this is related to Mercury. And so these are not hard and fast, but as much as I could find, I did try to include. So there's lots of charts. There's lots of that kind of thing. If you also are Virgo and detail oriented like myself, you might enjoy the charts in the book. So
and
I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, I know. And really, it's great.
You know, it's been a labor of love. It's interesting for me because, as I've said early on, this is not a sphere I really work in. I'm an artist. I'm an illustrator. I love to work with, you know, all forms of divination and cartomancy, but it's not something I really do in my professional life. I wouldn't consider myself to be part of the tarot community. But so this really was something I made for myself, and it grew, and I got so excited. And so it's always an honor to connect with people that I feel know more about it than me, you know, usually. And so odd and wonderful and surreal to have something that, like I said, that has always been so personal for me to be part of everyone's universe and part of my greater artistic universe.
and I think one of the things that you have done that not every creator does is you really dove deep into understanding the cards, so that when you created it, it helped you get a deeper understanding so that you could write this book. It's not a copy and paste.
No.
It's, you know,
and
so it's like, it's
always
not
said,
that.
It is not. And if you want to learn a deck from back to front, make a deck. Make your own deck. And that will teach you, you know what I mean? And I will show, I know we're probably getting close to the end, but I do mention in the book that you, there's exercises that you can do to help learn. And one of the exercises that you can do is to use a deck of playing cards to make your own deck. And I did actually a workshop with people at Sea Grape about a year ago. And I have my scrapbook deck here, which I just made in a couple of days as an example. But if you want to learn these cards, that is the way to go. Make your own deck, and you can make it at your own pace, and you never have to show it to anybody, and it can change and grow, and it will teach you so much, and you will learn, you know, everything.
This is my little learning Lenormand when I took
it
from Kelly Fitzgerald. And so it's like, it's just like, it's like, boom, it's got, and it's not fancy. I tried to overcomplicate it, but it really, really does work. So,
so it's no kings or queens, only the only the suits, correct?
You do have kings and queens. You start at the sixes. So if you are working with a traditional 52 card deck, you're going to just remove the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, and you start at the sixes. And there's a guide, like I said, if you like a chart, there's a guide in the book. It will tell you the associations for the cards. It will tell you what the original playing card meanings are, which are different. There's a lot of information there. So if you like lots of information, cross-referenced, but I think hopefully presented in like a really fun and easily digestible way. If you liked my conversational style, you might like the book.
It's a great, it's like sitting down with people and having a conversation. So Go over and subscribe to Sara M. Lyons Instagram. The link is below.
Yes. And like I said, I don't really operate in the sphere. It's mostly my art and the things that I do. Not a lot of information on there, but I would love, if you love my art, to come and join me.
Yeah. And this is Zina's place. If you want to see this deck in action, this is always on your table, Lisa.
Always.
So, and I think it's beautiful. And I am tomorrow morning, self-promotion, and then I'll ask you all to promote. I am we're doing Tuesdays with Tarot Stash exclusively on Jane the Secret Tarot.
Nice.
Tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And then on Tuesday afternoon, I am doing Tarot the Stash Way, and I am talking about the suit associated with Earth, which is Pentacles.
Nice.
So Lisa, what do you got coming up?
Oh, I'm let me think. Doing Friday happy hour. Yeah, so I've been doing that, and of course Jane. I'm on Jane the Secret Tarot on Thursday mornings. I always look forward to that.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know me, I just pop on here and there.
Okay, so they should like and subscribe to you. Is that?
Of course they should. Why wouldn't they?
And do all of the cool kids are doing it. Even the people who don't like to be the cool kids are doing it. So there you go.
I love it.
So, Sara, what do you got coming up? And what can we expect next from you?
Oh, well, I am always drawing. I'm always developing new product. You can visit my web store, which is shop.saramlyons.com. I make art accessories like hair clips, and I also create, if you like things in the divination sphere, I have a fun little product called a scratch off oracle card, which is just a little 5-pack with scratch off magical symbols. These are symbols of my own division. I'm about to release my second series, so that is my fun little product.
Both Lisa and I are like, what?
They're really
oh
cool.
My gosh.
They're really, really fun. They're $8 and you get a pack. You can stick them in a gift card. You have 5 little, I call them single-use disposable oracle cards.
Wow.
They are cool. And other things that I make there too are shop.saramlyons.com. So that's my shop. Again, I said I'm mainly an illustrator. So I did a bunch of work for if you have adorable children in your life who like dolls, the Mattel Monster High dolls are about to come out, and I did a bunch of the packaging design. So go and buy those for your children. And if you come out to the Joshua Tree area in the next year or so, in probably about 3 months, I will have a store open in downtown 29 Palms called Scorpion Lollipop. We will be doing gifts, magical items, and hopefully delicious craft beer.
Wow.
So come visit me in the high desert if you are here in 2023.
And what doll was it that you did the packaging for?
The Monster High dolls. They will be on the shelves, I believe, on October 1st. And I did not all the packaging, but all their names I drew, and all the little motifs that I drew, all the dolls.
Nice.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so if you see those Monster High dolls on the shelves and you see their cute little names, and not the illustrations of the characters themselves, but the cute little motifs and their name lettering, that was me.
That was you.
We know
So buy
them. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I always have a little something going on. But yeah, if you visit my Instagram, I'm not super active, but I do try and share when I have new stuff. So like I said, if you're interested in the things like the scratch off oracle cards or the shop that will be opening in the next few months, you can follow me there, and you can see my art and my cats and my desert life.
Love it.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Hang out for a second, and Lisa as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And appreciate it. If you have this deck, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. So,
I forgot one other thing. Sorry.
What?
I just remembered. If you know people in France, or you are a French speaker, I will have a French edition of the book coming out at the end of this year. So when I have more information, I will share that, because it is big in France, apparently. So do you speak French or know someone who does? That will be coming soon.
Je parle un peu de français.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.